this is some of the things that make all of the people in the world stupid and why we have so many problems that we are failing to handle and why everything seems to be getting out of hand. Uh, we know that colleges organize knowledge in categories created hundreds of years ago. The natural sciences, the social sciences, the arts and the humanities, and various engineering disciplines, the professions. Um, we know that they don't change much, and that even if they do this big e-learning thing, there are problems when you get murderers and killers and mentally ill people taking the courses by the tens of millions. I'm and You've got faculty spending years formatting all kinds of helps and supports into the software. You strip faculty away from research, and then you have to handle the noise factor of tens of thousands of people who are not serious about studying, who are trying to study. It's not going to be nearly as pleasant as people think it is. And I like democratizing knowledge. I think it's going to happen. I think it's important, but I think it's going to be decades before it's beautiful and comfortable for people. And in the meanwhile, it's going to be extremely costly. A few faculty are going to make a lot of money. That's going to draw a lot of other greedy faculty to it. And a few students are going to turn their certificates into something valuable in terms of jobs. That's going to draw a lot of other people to it. It's really nice that you can get an MIT education already on the web without paying a nickel to MIT. And believe me, you do the homework in most of those books, and you do it well in a job interview, it's instantly clear you're a lot smarter than an MIT student, most of whom do the minimum amount of homework they can get away with. So you self-studying and doing the homework in those books from the video lectures at MIT now on the open courseware system is enough to propel you beyond the average MIT student. I was there, I know. So let's talk about other ways to organize knowledge. And I have a way that in my life I've organized it. I'm not sure it's good or bad. It's just different. And it's become so big and such a serious part of my productivity and what impresses other people when they engage me in my services that in spite of myself, I started respecting it. It started out with the question, who are the smartest people in the world? Where are they? And what makes them so much smarter than Richard Green? And I did that at MIT because it was a great place to do, a lot of smart people around, and studied artificial intelligence and cognitive linguistics under people like Marvin Minsky and Drew McDermott and Carl Hewitt and Noam Chomsky on the linguistics side. And those are the knowledge and cognition and linguistic sciences. And I wrote a 250-page book on structural cognition, which were the results of what I found made people smart. Then while I was there, I also studied software and technology sciences, because MIT has a lot of that. Harvard doesn't have much of that. And it's clear the future was being built by people who knew new technologies and software, and not by people who knew, Shakespeare and stuff like that. So, and I was right there, and Project Mac, all these smart graduate students, MIT faculty in computer science were idiots, out of date, arrogant, useless, didn't know what they were talking about, but they had really smart graduate students in Project Mac, and I learned a lot from that. I spent like 5 hours a night there for years, helping graduate students doing code for them. We had 3 grades, very funny, shit, possible non-shit, and non-shit were the 3 grades, and you'd hand this code to the graduate student, he'd throw it in the machine, and say, shit, utter shit, go away, never work for me again. Or he'd say, possible non-shit, I'm going to have to look at this for a little bit. Or he'd say definite non-shit, and then the other graduate students would all turn around and applaud. And so that was a good assignment. Then I went to Japan because I knew being American was dangerous to my health, dangerous to America's health. You had to go to where the best competition in the world was and see what made them better. So I went to Japan to study quality because it was running around the world destroying 11 industries in Western Europe and America. And I studied quality and culture sciences there, and this was really interesting. Because total quality turned out not to be Japanese culture, but a correction of weaknesses in Japanese culture instituted voluntarily by Japanese to correct what was weak in their management culture. And so Americans quite wrongly thought it was Japanese stuff coming to America, but it was actually anti-Japanese stuff to America. So the Harvard University faculty quite dishonestly took the word Japan out, put the word lean in so they could write Japanese methods up as if they were Harvard insights and American insights, didn't realize that the Japanese techniques they were renaming were actually anti-Japanese techniques. Oh, so stupid. That shows you Harvard faculty don't have a clue. And then self and career sciences. This was really managing my career in really ugly competitive business and academic environments. Harvard, University of Chicago are some of the ugliest, least intellectual places on earth because no one can say an idea in ordinary conversation without somebody else's graduate students publishing it 2 months later. And so you hear no ideas at all when people talk for months with you, and then you go to a conference and find out they were doing all this thinking but didn't say a word to you because you would have stolen it, or your graduate students would have stolen it, or somebody else's would have if you'd mentioned it there. Harvard and Chicago are terrible places. Xerox and EDS were similar terrible places in terms of competitive. So I studied self and career sciences, and this was partly Zazen under Daisetsu Suzuki and Houston Smith, and ancient Chinese science and Taoism under Nathan Sivan, alternative ways to build a self and build a career other than the Western sort of constant monkey hierarchy battle way of building a career. And then we did the Excellent Science Research Project at the University of Chicago, 54 ways, routes to the top of nearly any field. Creativity, effectiveness, educatedness, handling complexity, handling error, management levels, management functions, and about 40 or so others. Then I got into systems and leadership science. Turns out that leadership is mostly taking credit for luck and avoiding credit for bad luck, plus the smart ones know second-order systems effects coming from present actions and look for them. And so really, if you take 256 system effects to look for, and people who know most of them and look for most of them, then you have what we call great leaders, people who magically appear to be positioning you for a future, and then they just smile when the future arrives because they knew that second-order nonlinear effects of what we were doing 5 years ago would be this stuff. And they smile because they line things up to handle that while everybody else thought they were doing nothing. That's systems and leadership sciences. Creativity and novelty sciences were because they were such a big part of being effective. Part of my Excellent Sciences Research Project, 18 of the Excellent Sciences were novelty and creativity sciences. And then finally, imagination and reality sciences are the newest way I've been organizing knowledge, which is the fact that the most truth is told in fictions and comedy. It's paradox. And in imaginary worlds, fantasy worlds are the most real because you can tell the truth in them. Isn't that interesting? And this is video games, Hollywood, novels, how you really tell truths to people in life and where the real information is.